Hello! It's been a few days or weeks or something since I did a video, and I figured I would do one. So I hope you all are doing well. And what am I going to talk about today? So I've been told lately that I should talk about my writing and my characters in my books, so I decided to do that. I just recently released a book called Violet Death, and for those of you who haven't read my stuff, which is like the vast majority of the human population, I guess I'll do a little introduction. So this is the first book, Violet. And I wrote this book back in 2004. I can't even believe it's been that long. And so just a little background about the story. It's based on a dream that I had. And I have really, really detailed dreams. And one night I had this dream about a girl and her friends. And they lived in a small town. Of course, in the dream, the people were people that I knew. And so it's kind of based on people I know, but not really. Once I wrote the story, they're completely their own people, but the dream was people that I knew. So in this dream, all this stuff happened. It was like watching a movie, and I woke up like psyched about this dream because it was so detailed, like a film. And I was telling Mike about it, and I was like, you know what, I should just write it, because I was reading so much. And had wanted to write for a long time. I used to always write stories when I was younger in high school that I just kept to myself and my friends. I wrote a lot of poetry, but I hadn't really sat down and tried to write a book. I had written some fanfic stuff and whatnot, but not an actual book. So I decided I was going to write this dream that I had, and thus Violet was born. So, a bit of background about the characters. Violet is a late teen who is very detached emotionally from people, except for her small group of friends. And even with them, she's detached because she's just been through a lot. Her parents have just died, and she's on her own. And so this is difficult, obviously. And her friends are coddling her in a way that makes her uncomfortable. So she just becomes very withdrawn and kind of hides who she is and from them. And kind of covers everything with sarcasm and just anger at the world, which I think a lot of us went through when we were young. I know I did. A lot of self-loathing that was, instead of directed at myself, was directed at others. And so Violet is accepting that this world has changed for her. Her boyfriend's an asshole and has no concept of how to comfort her. Her friends don't particularly like her, but they're all friends. And I think we've all been in that group too, of being friends with people because they're there and not necessarily because they should be there. I know that was true for me when I was a young teenager, early adult. And so she's all alone in this situation, despite the fact that she's got her best friend and a comfortable situation as far as that goes. So one night she's out walking, trying to escape life, and she runs across this stranger named Roman, who is larger than life, because all dark strangers have to be larger than life, don't they? And he's mysterious and scary and enthralling. So she is intrigued by him, terrified by him, doesn't really want anything to do with him, but is also kind of like, what? He's kind of interesting. But then that ends their involvement this evening on this walk. And so she goes about life more and more withdrawn, yada yada, and there's a lot that happens besides yada yada. Anyway, I think what I try to do with my writing is, despite the fact that extraordinary circumstances happen that are unrealistic to our lives, such as vampires, or are they, I try to make my characters react in a way that realistically people react. A lot of times when I'm reading a vampire book or a horror film or whatever, people just are kind of like, oh, okay. And they don't ever question anything. They don't ask questions that I would ask. If I met a vampire, I would have a million questions, and it wouldn't be like, I don't know, like stupid crap. People never ask questions. They never want to know like the mysteries of who a vampire is, what they are, what it means in the grand scheme of spiritualism and afterlife, and, you know, if this thing exists, then could this thing exist, sort of thing. And so I try to incorporate a lot of that. Look at my dog. Dolly's licking the kitty cat. So anyways, I try to incorporate a lot of those kind of life or death questions that I would ask if I was in that situation. And I try to make my characters respond to situations in a realistic way. They're not just like, oh, okay, vampires exist or whatever. And I guess my goal in writing is to create a world that you can see when you read it. So I try to be very detailed about their surroundings, how they're feeling, the conversations that they have, the way they look, the music that they listen to. I talk a lot about the scene kind of in my book. So there's a lot of old goth references and post-punk references and things along that line that I think a lot of people in the sort of goth subculture would relate to, especially maybe from my age group. But you know, I try to keep it sort of like ambiguous as to what year it is, so it's sort of relatable whether you're young now or whatever. Anyway, they're all very flawed people, and that's realistic. No one is a perfect heroine or bad guy or whatever. And I try to make it relatable to real life, and even though it's extraordinary circumstances. So in the first book, I hope that people relate, and I hope that people like fall in love with these group of goofballs and somehow feel what they're feeling. And I'm really proud of this book, and on some level I feel like these people are real because they came to me in this sort of dream world out of nowhere, and despite the fact that they were sort of based on real people, they very much have become their own people, and so I desperately want to do them justice. And despite the fact that I have to hurt them sometimes, because there's a lot of hurt that goes on in my books, which is, again, very realistic. You don't always ride off into the sunset. And anyone who's heard Lycia ought to know that there's going to not really be any happy endings. There never are. Ever. Like, ever. Like, you get this much happiness and this much pain. And I think that's realistic, and I don't tie everything up neatly, and I leave a lot of what if this is going to happen, wonder what's going to happen next kind of things in there, because that's life, and everything doesn't get tied up. And I'm very dedicated to these little creatures and their story. And every second that I'm not writing, I kind of feel them clawing along in the back of my mind, pacing back and forth, going, hello, I'm waiting. So I've really tried to write a lot, and I have 4 stories out now related to Violet and Roman, and I have several more already written and ready to be edited with characters that are involved with Violet and Roman. So I have a lot of stories yet to come, and I really, really hope that you'll just read them. And let me know what you think and feel about them. And I like to include lists of music, and a friend of mine recently told me that he actually, him and his girlfriend, read the book out loud and listened to the music as they read, and that it fit perfectly in that one particular scene. The song that came up as they were reading was like dead on perfect. So that was exciting to me. Certainly wasn't planned, but time-wise, but that was really cool to hear. And anyway, I just hope that you will look up my book. I give them away for free a lot, and I have in the past given them away for free, and I will do so in the future, but they're cheap. I try to make them as cheap as possible, and you can download them for free if you have that Kindle free thingy, and you can also download them pretty cheap. I think Violet is $2.99, and the paperbacks are a little bit more expensive, but look how pretty they are. It's so beautiful. Daniele Serra has done all of my covers, and he is amazing, and I also did a musical project with him called Secondary Nerve. I'll put the link below. I'll also put the links to my books, and I hope that you will give it a try. I really suck at selling myself because I'm really good at cutting myself down, but it's really hard for me to sell myself. So I feel really awkward about this, but I hear that it's necessary. Like, you're supposed to sell yourself because nobody else will. So I, again, wanted to say hi, and I hope you are all doing well, and next time I'll have like a dumb, goofy video. This one's a little more serious, I guess, for me. We have a lot of Lycia stuff that's out right now. Lycia Wake album has been unavailable for years, and we put it up for free on Bandcamp. I'll put a link. And we also have our new Lycia Fifth Sun t-shirt. That's $15 on Hello Merch. Again, cheap. And I'll put a link. And we have just a lot of stuff going on. And I hope you guys are all doing well. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.